Right, come on. Chop, chop, chop. We're on the clock here. Right.
Which button this time?
Button. Let's try that one.
Oh.
Oh, made a click noise there. That's there. Anything you're hoping for today after last week's debacle?
I'm hoping for a touch more Robert Vaughan.
You're obsessed. Well, the episode title is now up there, and it looks like we've got some Terrahawks today with...
Child's Play.
That's much better. You've learned your lesson from last week, I think. Thank you very much. You may go. It's Terrahawks. It's Child's Play, the second episode of the show's second production block. And I find this a really interesting episode to talk about because, last week's episode, in Terrahawks terms, was 2 for the price of 1, the introduction of Its Star. They changed the status quo forever. And it's nice to have an episode that immediately follows on from that.
Pretty one you are, my baby.
We actually establish who this character is because Its Star turned up very late at the end of that episode.
You do. Go off and play now.
And here we establish for the first time, going off and playing for Its Star means go and torment Uncle Youngstar.
Absolute favoritist.
Uncle Young.
At his favourite time of the day, mealtime.
Will you?
Don't touch my bowl of granite crunchies.
No. Don't touch that.
What is it?
A bomb. Bang.
And it's unfortunate that this episode was, considering it more or less directly follows on from 2 for the price of 1, I think this episode was then shown like halfway through the 3rd season.
No. Him.
But that's interesting as well. I always wondered to what extent Burl-Goy and Goy-Burl are capable of interacting, and you get the sense there that Goy-Burl is kind of scared of her other self.
Another of his tricks.
I also like as well that Youngstar, although he's always going to have his day ruined by Burl-Goy, he still genuinely seems to love Goy-Burl. He will always look out for her.
How does that grab you, bonehead?
Even when Burl-Goy is about to blow him up. And it's a very nice way to shake up the character dynamics.
What was that noise?
Now I'll teach you.
What's going on in here?
He almost blew me to pieces.
And as much as I feel for poor Youngstar at times like this, I do much prefer having Its Star there.
Away from this sweet child.
I know some people aren't too keen on the character, but it's moments like that that just sell it. Youngstar having to cope with it, Its Star switching back and forth and clearly reveling in the chaos that he's causing, or they're causing. And the fact that Zelda is just, for the TV series at least, always supports Its Star.
Grandmother?
What is it, my clever one?
Even when I think at this moment he outsmarts her.
Mars. I've come up with a super derivative of trinitrotoluol.
Of what?
TNT, like boom.
Oh, that's his favourite word for the episode. Yeah, I feel that by 26 episodes in, the scenes on Mars were getting a bit samey, sort of, victory will be ours, and then everybody laughs. And granted, there is still a lot of laughing with Its Star there, but it shakes things up a bit. And here we are at one of my favourite places in the Terrahawks universe, next to the Golden Lay Saloon, which we shall not go into. It's Sheriff Bull's office.
This here is Sheriff Bull.
Yeah.
Speak to me,
With his
somebody.
telephone and his diplomas on the
Where
wall,
are you at,
which I
Gilroy?
own and treasure.
You hear me, boy?
And this is the first time the sheriff has appeared since
Don't look like no big explosive bomb to me.
gunfight at Oki's Corral. And although in that episode we heard Kilroy, we never actually saw him until now. So I find it really interesting that they saved the Sheriff Bull puppet for so long. Because I think that some of the puppets would have been skinned, essentially, and reused for other characters. But they kept Bull.
No big deal to me.
And I just wonder if they saw how he was in that first episode and thought, we need to earmark that character for future appearances. And bring in Kilroy as a physical presence.
By the computerized all-weather timepiece on my wrist, I still have 15 minutes.
And they're both, for human characters in this show, they're quite nice designs, they're quite appealing. And, the more comedic characters this show can have, the better.
Gilroy, speak to me, boy.
This is just one of my favourite scenes of the whole series.
What explosion that was!
Explosion!
I mean, horrendous.
Where are you at?
Me? I'm 4, maybe 5 feet up this here tree.
Oh, I love it.
When you get out of plaster, Gilroy,
Again, the reaction from the Sheriff Bull puppet there is quite something.
get yourself a new watch and a new job.
Aww.
Get me washing.
Phone time!
Urgent. Like sometime today.
Yeah, I wonder if it was Tony Barwick who decided that they should bring this character back, or if there was just a general feeling that they put so much work into the studio. Not the studio, this is the studio where we are now, and where we are now. The Sheriff's Office, I mean, and the associated puppets and bric-a-brac. But speaking of studios, and speaking of moments that I love in this show, always nice to get a Kate Kestrel song. I never understand why she re-records and re-records the same songs that she's already recorded multiple times, but I've never found this distracting, and I know again a lot of people did with Terrahawks, especially when it was first on. Having to stop pretty much every week for Kate to sing a song. But it's worth it for the sight of Stu bobbing around. I also like the puppetry on Kate there. You don't often get the sense that she's holding the mic stand, but in this one, she is. And who's this come to interrupt the fun? It's Colonel Johnson.
Can I help you? Sorry, no, you're not allowed in here. No, sorry, look, you'll have to leave.
IRS.
I beg your pardon, what?
Kate's still dancing with the music.
Income tax. You get my meaning.
Oh, you mean... Oh, the IRS. Oh, yeah, okay, Mr. King. Miss Kestrel, can you just hold it a minute, please? Hold it, hold it. Hold it, everyone, hold it.
And I've often wondered,
What's happening, Stu?
as a lot of people
Oh,
have,
what's happening? Yeah, right, okay, well, what's happening?
what puppet is Chick
King
King?
Revenue man, you know?
And in the SOS music video, they put Colonel Johnson up there.
The IRS? Take care of it, Stu.
I got some things to sort out in a hurry, Stu. Documents I suddenly need to get rid of. Yeah, I always wondered if that is the Colonel Johnson puppet up in the booth. So this is kind of an in-joke of having this puppet that also plays King down on the recording studio floor.
Oh, yeah, right. Miss Kestrel.
You want to talk to me?
In private, right away.
Ah, yes. Colonel Johnson and his massively big glasses. I've never noticed how big those were before.
Like me, Johnson.
It was quicker than setting up a meeting with Dr. Neinstein.
It's a different way of doing things other than the usual way I turn up in these stories.
The device was planted in a remote ranch house. The authorities will warn place and time of detonation.
What's the connection with
I
Terrahawks?
like the little Badwater County music riff there.
When our experts went in, they were able to establish the device was alien.
Zelda?
An hour ago, we received another warning. Time and place.
Hudson?
Yes, madam.
So shades of Captain Scarlet here, the Terrahawks are getting threats from Mars regarding what's going on.
057282.
How much time do we have?
A little over 10 hours.
We'll get back to you, Kate.
10:10.
Launch the Battle Hawk.
This is a 10:50.
And a nice nighttime launch sequence. I believe this is reused from 10 Top Pop. That might have been the first time we saw the nighttime launch sequence. And part of me thinks it actually looks better under cover of darkness. Granted, we didn't get a full launch sequence there, but something about the house at night is quite impressive.
2 hours, 30 minutes.
What'll be the local time?
Also notable for this episode, and I don't know if he wasn't around or there just wasn't much call for him, but as I remember, Zero has almost no dialogue in this episode. Anywho, we find Itstar in an abandoned ranch house, and I love here, and I don't think it was quite visible on DVD, but it is now on HD and Blu-ray. The table he's sitting in front of is covered in dust, and in the dust he's just written "boom" with his finger.
Mein uncle.
It just shows the single-mindedness of the character.
You plant them exactly where I told you?
Yes, yes. Why do I do all the work?
And Youngstar is covered in sand and dust.
I am the brain.
Ah.
How do you say
Which one of us is the beauty?
will come
Oh, that's sister.
I would
obviously.
not sit down if I were you.
Oh, what's wrong with the chair?
It's wired up to 4,000 volts.
You little horror! You
Again, more contented bobbing from its star
The
there.
chair is fine. Sit down.
And it's a new level of villainy for this show.
The chair is not
This
wired.
talk of applied
I made
psychology
you think that it was.
and of understanding
Applied psychology.
the mentality
Knowing
of your
how the other
opponent,
person's mind works.
which doesn't really always come across with Zelda's regular plans. And I kind of wish they'd sustained this for longer than they did, because it feels like its star kind of disappears halfway through the season.
Yes, Uncle Youngstar. Boo!
boom!
You get it? They have to spell it out in more dust. Boom! And these two also make a lovely team. I think previously, if you look at episodes where Youngstar goes to Earth, either he's paired with Yuri or it's just an assortment of cubes. Giving him someone...
That's it.
Oh,
Grid reference.
very early
057.
graphics there.
2,
Yeah, but partnering him up with someone
Desert.
who is
Nothing but rock and sand.
far his intellectual superior.
An explosive device in the middle of
Again,
nowhere.
it just shakes up the dynamic of the show.
on the
Because I don't think anybody really believed for a moment that Youngstar was capable of leading an operation on his own like that.
Yes, Mom.
One line for Windsor Davies there. We'll keep tags on that, or track of that even, I should say.
Flaming thunderbolts.
So the Martians
A
have planted a
million cubic
bomb
feet of gas an hour.
supplying half of South and Central America.
on a very crucial part of our pipeline.
Let me talk to Kate.
More nice nighttime stuff.
Face an emergency situation. We may need your help. We'll pick you up.
What about the special package I'm carrying?
Johnson,
That's one way to describe him.
bring him along. He might learn something.
And this is an interesting, if kind of odd addition to the story. Let's bring Johnson along.
What do you say?
Well, I guess all I can say is, wowee!
But I also find it interesting they say, oh, Kate will pick you up, we might need you. And then once she's aboard Battlehawk, I don't think you ever see her for the rest of the episode. Because, she doesn't have Hawkwing to pilot. Yeah, I don't think we see her again after this point. Oh, there she is, proves me wrong. But yeah, we don't see her after Hudson boards Battlehawk. But this is all nice nighttime stuff. Again, I think this would have to have been shot for this episode.
Stand by for liftoff.
Ready for liftoff?
And considering we don't see much of it, that was quite a nice detailed model for the rear cargo bay. Also some nice weight on Battlehawk as a model here as well. It's maybe slightly too dark to see what's going on, but...
It's a blank piece of paper.
Well done, my uncle. Yes, this is another of ItStar's amazing creations.
Let me see that.
And it's very in keeping with Youngstar
It's a blank piece of paper again.
to be flummoxed by a blank piece of
How
paper.
does it work?
By Super Macrotronics.
Ah!
But don't worry your pretty little head about that, man.
So there we go, the same puppetry technique used to operate these characters, Super Macromation, also creates digital maps on paper. Oh. Youngstar looked awfully pleased with himself then. I was right. I get a cookie.
We'll go in Terrahawk.
10-10.
Okay. We may as well get some use out of the thing. Yes, this is why Kate didn't tag along. They left her in Battlehawk.
They can't.
There's Youngstar performing an early version of Baldric's famous poem. And although Terrahawk isn't used very often, I don't quite understand the necessity really to sort of be able to set up a vantage point like that. I do like how heavy the thing feels with all the moving parts. Even as it was moving along, the legs were moving and the wings were extended.
And the ranch house was blown to smithereens.
I nearly took Kilroy with it.
You? I've got 150 special training hours in Groundhawk. How long have you got? 3 hours?
Training time doesn't come in.
Hello, we're the audience here. What's Groundhawk? This is the first we are hearing of that vehicle.
I go in.
Mary,
Tiger, when you lose an argument, lose with grace and dignity. And shut up.
Well, a nice moment of steel from Mary there. But yes, Groundhawk, a new vehicle. An interesting design. I think it certainly fits the look of the Terrahawks universe.
Something's coming. What is it?
It will be some kind of tracked vehicle.
But I think it only turns up in one more episode after this, that being Space Giant. It's a nicely detailed model. I kind of wish, as with the space tank, that they'd got some more use out of this.
How did you know?
Applied psychology, page 1.
100.
All your enemies will use tracked vehicles to counter your evil
That's
plans.
the problem. All readouts 10-0.
All negative?
I'm going in closer.
And this is an interesting development in the character of Mary, because up to this point she's been very sort of... Well, I know from talking to her that Denise was never all that fond of the character, because she found her quite boring. She was always telling people what to do and otherwise just being kind of generically pleasant. It's nice to see the character actually have something to do for a change. So I like this part of it. I like that she has this moment of heroism, and it happens a couple more times in the second production block. I suspect this is partly a reuse of... Oh no, I was going to say the space tank cockpit, but it probably isn't. Anywho, Groundhawk is pulling up to the bomb over the pipeline.
Like bees round a sugar bowl. But soon, someone's going to get stung.
Ooh. Nice reaction from Youngstar there. Just that sudden shock.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
And I think we're coming up on a rare moment of stop motion for this show.
You know what they're telling me? They're telling me this thing is a fake.
Oh.
An empty shell.
You can hear as well that Denise is greatly enjoying these more steely moments. Yeah, there's the stop motion. That's
for space sake, she was right.
a lot of effort to go for
Get out of there.
a very small effect.
It's time.
Activating the minefield that Youngstar dug the previous night. Oh, here we go, some lovely explosions. Again, it's just wonderful to have Itstar on board now.
Now there's only one way out.
Because he does feel like he's actually thought this plan through.
It's too clever.
And even though Youngstar's been on the receiving end of Itstar's cruelty, it's nice that he still occasionally gets to sort of revel in the evilness of everything.
Whoever you are.
And I promise you one thing. I'm gonna get you.
Ooh,
Well, this
tough
is
words.
the better part of valor.
What does that mean?
It means it's time to leave.
We should stay and fight.
You can do what you like, Dummkopf. I'm off.
Oh,
But before I go,
so what weapons have you got to fight with? You
activate
have
the
a shovel.
minefield you so carefully laid last night.
Oh, now Groundhawk is fenced in. This is one of those occasions where Azifa somehow slipped past Spacehawk, coming to Earth and going back. I don't think we even see Spacehawk. But again, you don't really need to see that. It's not a vital part of the story. This is the good stuff, though.
Some kind of landmine. Mary, get out of there.
What about the Groundhawk?
You'll have to abandon it.
No. Groundhawk's a prototype. I'm staying with her.
And it's a nicely dramatic sequence, all this, but it does make me think, hang on, one of the things that Battlehawk is supposed to be able to do, it never does it on the show, but if you have one of the Bandai toys, there are these sort of hooks that they use to recover a battle tank in case Battlehawk can't land. It would be handy to have something similar on Groundhawk for situations like this.
Mary, that's an order.
All right, Tiger. I've never disobeyed an order.
Oh, here it goes.
Tiger, malfunction on escape capsule. I'll have to drive through.
Wow. Someone's feeling brave this week. Unfortunately, it won't last. The puppet scale cockpit set is really taking a beating here.
She'll never make it. She'll be blown to pieces.
I'd love to know the thinking that went into putting Colonel Johnson in Terrahawk for this episode. I don't think he's anyone's favourite character on the show, and often he's kind of a bit redundant because he just turns up to tell people the plot of the week. But I enjoy having him there for this week. It's something different, and it's nice, along with the It Star stuff, that the show remembers, let's keep new elements going with this.
She's clear. She did it.
Yay.
Of course she did. She made it. We got away with it.
Almost sound disappointed. I didn't get to prove that I was right.
A clever, devious, and evil mind.
Oh, it's such a great way to establish the character.
One day, Mummy. Then you shall, my baby.
Although I don't think he actually does. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think he ever goes back to Earth.
You'd better believe it, Earth scum.
Oh, that's a lovely sinister close-up there as well. Obviously, he's a fairly hideous puppet, but the child's clothing, it just sells the character, and of course these two opposing personas and voices going on. Anywho, that was Child's Play, and oh, what a nice follow-on from the events of the previous episode 2 for the price of 1. It kind of shows that Tony Barwick was really thinking about, it's one thing to shake up the status quo, but you kind of occasionally have to do a bit more work to get these new elements feeling like an essential core part of the narrative. And I think they did it superbly there. It's a lovely, essentially an introduction to It Star, which we had briefly at the end of the previous episode, but here it's just, we have a new, very devious villain with a lot of schemes to deploy. And I just noticed as the voice actors list went past there, Windsor Davies only gave this episode one line, and it could have been lifted from anywhere else. Wonder what else he had on that day. We'll never know.